Here we are again. How lovely. Thank you once again so much for being here. Today we're still talking about demand. We're going to put together a demand creation plan, your own personal demand creation plan. And I want to talk about the overarching concept behind all of this work, which is the idea of self-led demand. This is the foundation, the foundational belief of the demand shift. Nothing else makes sense unless you understand this concept of self-led demand. And it's based on the premise that when we act from the belief, when we act from our own deeply held belief in the demand for our work, that is reflected in our results. And before that happens, before you see the results and you see the reflection, it makes every decision and action that you take within your business better, by which I mean more purposeful. So from your marketing content to offer creation, everything is more purposeful, and therefore it does better. It converts higher, like whatever conversion is for that particular activity, it works more. And this is the beautiful thing about marketing, is you have the results, the end metrics that you can test and measure and use as a measure for the results for your magic. Understanding self-led demand can even help you get better results for your clients. Incredible. It's true. That's a story for another day. But I'm sure that you can see how it works when you understand how suggestible people are. So the more demand there is for your work, the more people believe in it. And so the better results they get, because they're more invested and they're more trusting, and they throw themselves into it more, so they get better results. So you can see how that works. But I want to keep us moving today, so let's dive in. We've had a little recap on self-led demand. We're going to create a plan together. We're going to share at the end, if we have time, forced sharing. And it's my intention that you will leave with a plan and a reinforced, could be small, but will be growing, belief that demand for your work is out there, ready and waiting. And what I mean by demand for your work is not just demand for the area of work, not just demand for web design per se, or branding work per se, or business coaching per se, but demand for the work you do in the way you do it and in the way you want to do it. Okay? So self-led demand, it comes from the belief that the demand from your work is already out there. And when you believe that, your job as an entrepreneur is really twofold: to get better at marketing and to deliver better results for your clients. And better at marketing is also twofold: to get your message clearer and to reach more people. So those are always the objectives that are ongoing with your marketing: clearer message, reach more people more frequently. And your two objectives as a business: better results for your clients, better marketing. Okay. It's the difference between chasing clients and customers and trusting that if you can just be visible, so that if you can be noticed and have a clear message and have confidence and conviction in your work, that the clients will be there. So examples of these kind of thoughts would be, and I have them written on Post-it notes everywhere. I have reminders on my phone, because my business is easier when I make myself chant as a mantra out loud or in my head thoughts such as, when I sell, I make sales. When I sell, I make sales. I can convince myself of the objective truth of that statement. And also the opposite: when I don't sell, I don't make sales. Also very, very true. Another thing, I think everybody who sees my message, who actually sees my message, reads it, consumes it, is interested. The algorithm isn't showing my marketing content to people who aren't interested in it. So I can assume that everybody on my email list and everybody on my social media platforms are interested and thinking about working with me. I can assume that. I can safely assume it, that everybody on my list is interested in working with me, or perhaps there are a couple of percent who are performing industrial espionage and spying on me, and haters and trolls, because that happens as well. But I'm going to assume that 90% of people on my list do want to work with me in some capacity at some time in the future, else why would they still be on my list? I can convince myself of the truth of that, and it helps me to do so. Can you see that? The other thing I like to remind myself is that whatever situation or chronic condition or circumstance I am currently dealing with, and we all have stuff, right? Big circumstances, whatever it is that I'm currently dealing with could never stop me. And in fact, it is a vital component of my success. And then look for evidence of the truth of all these statements, or whichever ones you choose to remind yourself of all the time. This is very basic mindset stuff, but it's just so important. These are the types of thoughts to practice. Because the belief, and of course you will never be able to hold it consistently, we're human, but the greater the amount of time that you can, the more purposeful will be your work, the more results you'll see, and so you get into a positive and self-perpetuating, self-regenerating spiral. Yes? Now, let's just share with me, who has ever thought it's hard to stand out in a crowded market? Who has ever thought nobody understands what I do, or nobody wants what I do? Let me see your examples. And more importantly, what options have you kind of shut down for now and been like, well, maybe I would love to do that in the future, but I'm not really quite ready? What kind of options have you shut down because you don't believe the demand is there yet? So, for example, this could be experimenting with ads, or deciding to run a retreat, or offer VIP days, or create a high-ticket offer, or start a YouTube channel. Like, what would you do if you believed there was so much demand for your work, and that all of these options, all of them could work, any of them could work? It's just about doing what you want to do. Would you invest in messaging support? Would you invest in tech support, or implementation support? Executive function support? Would you limit how many hours you work? Would you slow down? Would you schedule regular days off or regular massages? Like, if you believed in the amount of demand for your work is more than you could ever deliver at this particular stage in your business, by which I mean the amount of demand outstrips your capacity to supply, there are always more clients than you can handle at this point in your career, would that change what kind of offers you put together, what kind of marketing strategies you pursue, how many hours you work, and so on? Oh, these are such beautiful and poignant reflections, you guys. I had a coach tell me not to focus on branding because it's red ocean. Ooh. Reiki has become so popular it feels like the pool is full and I struggle to stand out. I'm a scrapbook person. Oh dear. Saturated market and got crickets. Book coaching is not necessary. Of course there are going to be people for whom book coaching is not necessary. That person was having a bad day. I guess this boils down to, do you believe it's possible to stand out? If it's possible for other people to stand out, is it possible for you as well? And if it is, how and where would you like to stand out? How and where do you choose to stand out? Thank you for sharing those. Thank you for sharing them. Let's start thinking about a plan. Because we've done a lot of work on Wednesday about magic and today about altering our way of thinking. But I want you to leave with some actions. Someone to follow, Moira. Yes, yes, yes. So the first thing I want you to take some notes, right? Take some notes. So the first thing I'd like you to consider is where you can optimize. So think about your last, it might be 90 days, it could be 6 months, it could be 12 months. Think about the last little spell in business and what worked well. What did you have an offer that sold pretty well? Did you write sales engagement copy that you were really happy with? Did you run a live event that you enjoyed very much? Did you find yourself in communities where you got engagement? What has worked well in the last 3, 6, 12 months, whatever suits you? If you've been having a rough patch for the last 3 months, nothing's gone, go back further, but just something as recent as you can that worked, and name it, because that's going to be your first priority, to go back and make it better. Go back and figure out how you can do it again, but this time to reach more people, and with the messaging stronger, and with the visibility up a notch. How can you do it again, but just a bit better this time? So remember your jobs. Better results for your clients. Get better at marketing. And the fastest way to get better at marketing is not by endlessly creating new things, but to find something, anything that does work at least a little bit, and figure out how to do it more and bigger and better and do it again. Now, this isn't an unpopular truth. I'm sorry. But not everybody in the world has the necessary skills to create really high converting copy, right? That is why conversion copywriters exist. Of course, there is capacity for everyone to improve, but if it was really that easy to create high converting copy, everyone would just do it for themselves and expert marketers wouldn't exist. Now, these two things are true. Good enough, and my favorite mantra, done not perfect. Good enough and done not perfect are 100% the way to start with any new business or any new offer. Minimum viable product, right? And once you've made a start and have proof of concept, the next stage is optimization, making it better, doing it again and making it better. Now, even without professional support, you're going to be able to spot places where the copy is way too long. We talked about that on the group today, or it's unclear. And you can get a lot of useful feedback from your network as well. I shared, I don't think on the group, but on my business page and personal profile recently, an 11 questions guide to get clarity on the clarity of your sales page, right? Questions that you can, meaningful questions that will get you meaningful answers that will help you shape your sales copy if you don't have access to a professional conversion copywriter. Not everybody does. So in practical terms, your messaging, the copy, the marketing assets that you go back and refine, you are reviewing for how you communicate your positioning, your competitive advantage, your value, your mission. You're reviewing how clearly you can communicate it to your audience. And obviously knowing the specific problem that you can solve for people and being able to clearly articulate how you do it. Now, this happens every time I run a class. It happens every time with my, when people sign on with me as clients, it happens to me all the time as well. But the biggest problem with your messaging and your offer creation is not being sufficiently specific in the problem that you solve. So if in doubt, go back to that and ask yourself, if something's not selling, if your messaging isn't landing, if your offer isn't selling, I need to be clearer about how my solution solves a specific urgent problem. And you can just cycle through them until you find the one that lands. If a lot of spiritual practitioners, healers, coaches, and so on, my work can help everyone. It can help everyone. Of course it can. So let's find out who is really responsive, who's paying attention. Can you offer a cure for tinnitus, for carpal tunnel syndrome, for ennui, for frustrated parents? There are so many different angles that you can explore. And it can be a question of just looking around at what else is in there in the marketplace that seems to be selling well, and how you can offer a different solution to the same problem that people are already searching for. Okay, so optimizing. I went a little bit off on a tangent there, but it's all good. So your first task is to, look at something that has worked well over the past 3 to 12 months. Identify which one, if you've got a number to choose from, and your mission is to do it again, better this time, and look for evidence of the demand in your results. Okay. And the other places I want to look at your process. So that's the low-hanging fruit, the thing that worked best. Do it again, but better. And then the other thing I'd like to take some notes on and create some actions on is looking at the same looking for unexploited, pockets of demand in your process. So I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to ask them to you now. So jot down your answers if you care to, but there will also be a worksheet posted in the group, as I have been doing exceptionally well in creating them and keeping up with myself. So here are the questions. Your offer. These are the parts of your kind of marketing ecosystem that I want you to look at, and we're kind of doing an audit, yes? Your offer, has it sold before? And is it leveraged? In other words, is it profitable? Does it protect your energy? And is it therefore scalable? Any questions on what is a leveraged offer? Do we know what is a leveraged offer? A leveraged offer is something that you can sell that is not onerous on your time and energy, but gives fantastic results to your clients. If you don't have an offer like that, there is an opportunity to create one. And if you do have one, there is an opportunity to review the content of your offer, what happened last time you delivered it and the previous times, so that your clients get better results. Do you want to review and upgrade the structure to enforce greater energetic boundaries for yourself? There's a whole opportunity around optimizing your offer itself. So that is one thing, one action that I would like you that I'm going to have you schedule for your next 90 days in business, reviewing your offer. A word on pricing strategy, because that always comes up as a question when I talk about profitable offers. Now, pricing strategy. You can have a very profitable offer that is not high ticket. Cheap and cheerful is a viable pricing strategy. If you follow most business coaches on the internet, a huge number of them, especially in the coaching and spiritual space, vouch for high ticket, but that can be that can be energetically difficult for some people to sell, right? I'm a firm believer that we earn the capacity to charge high ticket by earning our stripes working for much, much less. Cheap and cheerful is a viable pricing strategy. Also, you don't have to raise your prices. If you have a profitable offer, a leveraged offer, you don't need to raise your prices. You can choose to serve a greater number of people at a lower cost. Think of all of the famous names you know in your arena, and there will be names who predominantly make money from reaching a huge number of people at not a very high price point. It means your priorities are different. Your priorities are on audience growth, but it is all very doable and achievable. It just needs to come from an informed, not from an informed and confident and purposeful decision from you. There's no drama about price points, like whatever you feel good with. And another thing about a leveraged offer, is it potentially available, your main offer, the main thing you're selling, is it potentially available to purchase 24/7? In other words, if you needed to, if you had an unexpected, a tree fell on your roof and a huge amount of unexpected expense, do you have something up your sleeve that you can just sell immediately without having to create something brand new? That's the question about your offer. Is it a leveraged offer that you can potentially sell 24/7? The next question. In marketing terms, this is called top of funnel. What is the primary channel? This is the next question for you. What is your primary channel for broadcasting your message to as many people as you possibly can? Your primary channel, not challenge. What is your primary channel to broadcast your message to as many people as possible? So think about your social media channels for this purpose. We're talking about eyes on you. Like the very first step, if you think about the very first step on your customer journey, is going to be somebody actually noticing you exist. So yes, standing out is important and being memorable is important, and that's all that stuff that we spoke about on day one, I think, and certainly as well on Wednesday when we were talking about narrative magic and who we have to become to be memorable. Oh, the mortification of doing magic to enchant for attention and capturing people's attention. You can almost feel the prickles of excitement and terror of what that might actually mean if you allow magic to have its way. Okay, so yes, the primary channel you use to broadcast your message is important to decide on that and go for it. And remember that more isn't always better, because we do actually want these to be action-taking people. There's a whole other class on identifying who your ideal hot leads are, but again, not for here and now this afternoon. And the next question about your top of funnel, or your broadcast channel, is how many people do you typically reach? How many people do you typically reach in, say, a week? So if you send out weekly email, that's the number of people on your list, and then you can look at your social media to have a look at impressions. So how many people per week do you estimate your message is reaching? And there is an opportunity, a huge opportunity for more. There are lots of well understood, well-trodden tactics for improving your reach and driving traffic to your content. So if you see there's capacity there to make your message reach more people, that will be something to highlight for an up-and-coming action point. So we've talked about top of funnel, we've talked about how many people that is typically reaching. The next question I'd like you to think about is, what kind of content do you currently create? How frequently do you create new marketing content, and does that work for you? Are you never creating and it's not working for you? Are you creating very consistently and frequently and it's not working for you because you're exhausted or you're still not getting engagement? Just give yourself a little kind of audit on the kind of content you create, how frequently you create it, excuse my articulation, how frequently do you create it, and does that frequency and the type of content work for you? Yes or no? There's so much demand for your work. You don't have to do any kind of content strategy that feels like death, okay? The next question, what is your next step opportunity once you've got people's attention? Does that make sense with the order? Yes. So what is your next step for new people? Are you going to invite them to make a purchase straight away? Do you invite them to an event? Do you invite them to subscribe to a newsletter? Do you invite them to join an online group? What is your next step opportunity once you've captured people's attention? There's an opportunity. If you don't know what it is, if you haven't identified one, there's your opportunity, and thinking about how you can make that next step incredibly obvious to every new eye that comes across your marketing. So updating your profile, pinned posts, banner images, links where acceptable, etc., etc., etc. Just strongly signposting your next step. Step this way, ladies and gentlemen, come into my circus. Admire my monkeys. What is the next step opportunity for new people joining your audience? And I've given you some ideas. Events, newsletter, mailing list, online group, discounts, low ticket items, something for them to raise their hand for, it could even be follow me for more, DM me to find out about. Just definitely a next thing for them to do. Okay. After that, what is their first purchase opportunity? How long are you waiting to actually give them an opportunity to buy? Because some people, not very many, very small numbers in terms of percentages, but some people will be interested straight away. And everybody pretty much is positively predisposed towards learning about you and your offers immediately after coming across your work. There's a kind of golden window of opportunity where people are positively biased towards you. So take advantage of that opportunity by offering everyone an opportunity to purchase. They can always say no. No harm in that, but please give everybody the opportunity to purchase. Opportunity, there's an opportunity for you. If you realize that, people are joining my list, but either I switched off my welcome sequence to fix it back in April and I still haven't done that and switched it back on again, or I have a welcome sequence but I realized that I'm not selling anything until about 5 days into the relationship. Give people an opportunity to buy straight away. And then at least they'll know what to expect from you, right? That you're going to be selling to them regularly. So yes, opportunity for you. Make sure that people have a clear path to purchase. The next question, how do you nurture? What is going to be your process for nurturing new leads to become buyers? So that could be automated email workflows, regular newsletters, your social media content strategy, your Facebook group strategy if you have one. Did I mention live events? But how are you going to regularly keep in touch with people whose attention that you got and who took a next step to deepen that relationship, to speed their journey from stranger to buyer? The first thing is to identify what your strategy is going to be, like what platforms you want to be on and roughly what frequency and what kind of, do you want to focus more on content, or do you want to focus more on events, or do you want to alternate between the two? Just make some kind of basic decisions about that. Most of you have seen my class on the Sweet Spot semi-automatic system for sales, but I will post it in the group as part of the write-up from today. So we've done the first purchase opportunity, we've done the customer journey, and then the final question I would like you to ask is the conversion point. Where does the sale happen? Is it happening, are you selling straight from the page? You're sending people to a sales page and you're not really involved in a conversation at all? Or are you taking sales calls or DM conversations, or is it a combination? And is that working for you? And again, another opportunity, an opportunity there to, if you're doing sales calls, how can you get better quality calls so people on a call are more qualified, you know that they're a better fit, so that you take fewer calls but your conversion rate goes up. That would be one opportunity for optimizing your conversion point. Or if you typically have 45-minute sales conversations, can you make them 20-minute sales conversations? That would be another point of optimization. If you are if you no longer want to take sales calls, your sales copy is very good now and high converting, do you want to move to DM conversations instead? There's another opportunity. And when I was pitching this class to you, one of the things I promised is that demand allows flexibility. There is so much potential to change so many little things in your marketing ecosystem to optimize, and I call it like tickle up, just polish and refine and make better, and very simply get more sales from the work you have already done. All of these opportunities can bring up a lot of high sensation. Everybody who's ever going to buy from me has already bought. My audience have already shown me that they won't purchase this offer. This gives me a sense of my wasted potential, or overwhelm, or helplessness, or confusion. And all of these sensations, my friends, my beloved partners in alchemy, are incredible fuel for shadow work and quick and dirty alchemy. Reclaiming power, moving forward, rather than being stalled by essentially discomfort. Right, I'm doing really well for time. Thank you for being with me, you guys. Manuscript evaluations and editing are very labor intensive, Lakeisha. Yes, they are. And you know what? If you're doing that work, you just need to charge appropriately for it. I often, anybody who's worked in retail or any kind of public facing role will be familiar with the saying, I'm not paid enough to deal with this shit. And one of the things that we owe to ourselves as business owners is to make sure that we're not in that situation with our clients, that they are paying us enough that we can be patient and forgiving and kind, even when they are having a very difficult time. Whether that's like, I can't access the thing, or it's not working, or whatever it is, that you feel sufficiently compensated. Okay, so we're going to make some, let me just check I've said everything I wanted to say about your process. Yes, yes, yes. More flexibility, high sensation. This is why we create demand. Create demand so that we have more flexibility, more opportunity, which in turn creates more high sensation, which we alchemize to allow ourselves to keep forging forward. So I'd love for us to create some action plans. Yes, please. Open a document, turn a fresh page of your notebook. Can we identify some low-hanging fruit, some places that you already have a process that works, at least somewhat, that you can work on? For example, an offer that you can make scalable, an audience that you can, excuse me, that you can recommit to engaging more with, an audience, you know, an audience that you can lean on, an audience that you can sell to. What do you have? Do you have a content flow that works for you? What is already working to some extent, at least? So we talked about this in the last section. So just write out for yourself what low-hanging fruit, places you already have a current process to work on. And then, of course, we're going to write make a note, highlight where there are gaps. I don't have a customer journey, or I don't have an immediate route to purchase. I don't have an immediate first purchase opportunity, or I don't get engagement on my social media content. Where are the gaps? Because whatever the problem is, people have figured it out, and you can too. Speaking of low-hanging fruit, if you need to raise some money next week and you know there is so much demand for your work, would you not simply throw together a higher ticket offer, I should say, reach out to your contacts and network and sell it to some people? Probably you would post a little bit on social media, some testimonials and recommendations, just so that the people that you're pitching will see the stuff you're sharing, the stuff that's really important, which is the testimony, literally testimonials, the testimony of people who don't stand to profit by you making sales. Those low-hanging fruit are always available when there's demand for your work. Let me just check the chat here. People want to go deeper. Yes, it's wonderful to create an ascension offer, but I want to suggest, Moira, that you can just sell your offer again. You can, the thing that they bought last time, you can sell it again to a new bunch of people. And then you can do it again, and then you can create an ascension offer for a larger audience, for more alumni, for more people who have been through the basic level, as it were. Okay, so low-hanging fruit, we've talked about making sales whenever you need them. That's why I love having a leveraged offer in place that's, in theory at least, open anytime, so you can always run a flash sale or a promotion or reach out to some new people. And a profitable one-to-one does that as well. And the next actions I'd like to look at is of those midterm actions where there are gaps to fill. Can we give ourselves an order in which to tackle them? Maybe 3 tasks for the next week, 3 for the next month, 3 for the next 60 days, and 3 for the next 90 days if there are any left. Like, I think it's important to prioritize them, because lots and lots and lots of people I work with have this sense that they need to do like everything all at once, and everything is urgent all at once. But, you know, there's so much demand for your work, and there is a sensible chronology to work through the different pieces of your marketing system in. But they don't all have to be done at once. You're far better focusing on one piece at a time. Rather than having split focus and trying to multitask and do multiple. I mean, because your time is always going to be split as an entrepreneur anyway, right? You have lives to live, lives to run, businesses to manage, accounts to do, admin, customer service, client delivery. Your attention is all already split without trying to split your attention in your kind of deep marketing work as well. Okay, 5 minutes. I wanted to do a 5-minute hypersigil exercise, but I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes now to just like catch up on a rough action plan. The bit I'm really interested in is the next week and the next month, because that will set your trajectory. Remember as well that we have a tendency to overestimate what we can do in a day or an hour or even a week probably, but underestimate what we can do long term due to the cumulative effects of all those disappointing I didn't get enough done because I overestimated what I could do in a day. They have a cumulative effect which we underestimate over time. Okay. A little writing exercise. Your hypersigil. I'm not going to ask you to share this on your workbook, of course. But if you watched some of the bonus classes that I shared yesterday, referring to Wednesday's class on narrative magic. You know I'm very, very fond of the hyper sigil, which is essentially a form of writing magic, which predicts the future by deciding upon it, by drawing it out and designing it. And so I would invite you to write on this little prompt that everything changed in my business when I learned to work with the energy of demand. I'm going to type it into the chat. I will include it on the workbook. Let me get this. Everything changed about my business when I learned to work with the energy of demand, or manipulate the energy of demand. It meant I was able to, whatever you want, which meant whatever it means to you, and whatever other happy outcome in your life that creates. So this is your future business self communicating with you from the future about how your business changed when you learned to manipulate the energy of demand. And let us thank our own higher selves, who of course created and orchestrated this entire encounter and communication on this energy. Hail, hail Hermes. So finally, I'd like to talk for a minute about omens and high signs, by which I mean the particular signs and symbols that you use with the universe as a received method of communication. Your lucky signs. So for me, foxes, vintage sports cars, white horses, pink ribbons. If I am feeling doubt, I will ask the universe to send me a sign. And often when I am not feeling doubt, but the universe just wants to reinforce a particular idea or a particular situation I'm in, or a particular idea that I'm toying with, that I'm experimenting with, it will throw my way a fox, a vintage sports car, sometimes a parade of 20 of them, white horses, pink ribbons. What are yours? Make sure you know what yours are. Give the universe a method for communication. And can you allow them to be a signifier of fortune in your quest to create demand? So these will be the milestones that you see as an indication that there is so much demand for your work and that you're on the right path with your business, and this is an idea worth pursuing, and yes, do this, before you actually see it in your results, right? Because there's always a lag in between, just deciding on a direction and then seeing it showing up in your results. There's always a lag. And then let's have a think about some tangible milestones as well. So we've talked about if I see or hear X, Y, or Z in terms of omens and high signs, this will tell me that my plan is working. But also, what will I see or hear in real life on my marketing channels? What is the first evidence I will see that my plan is starting to work? Will I see an increased engagement? Will I see more? Will I start having more conversations? Will I see an uptick in my reader stats, my reach? What are the first things I'm going to see before I actually see clients and money? So tangible milestones, if you like. So my favorite number is hot leads, and my definition of that is people who have recently expressed an interest in my work in some capacity. And that could be a very mild interest when myself and my VA have capacity to maintain conversations with all those people. But at other times when we're very, very busy, it will be just the people who have most recently expressed interest in working. So it's like, it's an elastic definition, right? And my currency tracks, my income tracks, revenue tracks. The more conversations I'm having with people in general, my revenue follows it. Of course, it depends on what I'm selling, but broadly speaking, more conversations equals more conversions. And those kind of metrics are often much easier to remain detached from than like the cold hard money, which can have so much attached to it, carry so much meaning with it. So yes, your not only your goals. This is not so much about your goals, but the signs that you will, the evidence that you will spot. First, in terms of omens and high signs, and then in terms of like actual metrics that you can track, that are going to give you your first evidence that this is working for you. We're just looking for the first evidence. If you start looking for 5-figure months as evidence that there's demand for your work when you only just started this work, you're going to be disappointed and you're only going to find evidence of failure. So think about what is the first piece of evidence that you'll spot. I hope that's very clear. So we've spoken about the thoughts that you can think on purpose about being in demand, and how doing that basically gives you better problems to solve, more interesting and creative problems to solve. More interesting than where's my next client going to come from is how can I make my message clearer? How can I broadcast it to more people? Then we talked about the obvious next step after establishing that there is demand for your work. The obvious next step is to optimize the work that you've already done. And we talked about a way of identifying potentially dozens and dozens of unexploited pockets of demand hiding in your existing process, your current marketing ecosystem, that you can start cultivating straight away. And we talked about where there might be some gaps in that marketing ecosystem that you can fill. And from that, we put together the outline of a plan for the next few days and weeks. Great work, everybody. That was a lot of information in a very short period of time. Thank you for being with me. Remember, demand is not something that you need to chase. It is a direct reflection of clear and visible marketing. If you're visible but you're not clear, you won't see it. If you're clear but not visible, likewise, you won't see it. And you either have or have the resources to create everything that you need. Now it's about taking action. We covered a lot quite quickly. We only have about 5 minutes left on the call today. So I am going to suggest possibly running a bonus Q&A or ask me anything, marketing, messaging, demand type call next week. If you would be able to come, can you give me an indication? I'll ask on the group as well. But if there are any burning questions right now, I will be very happy to take them. Go out there, my beloved sisters in alchemy, go out there and create and uncover the demand that is already your right. Your business genius wasn't given to you as a practical joke and a way to suffer. The very fact that you want to grow a business is evidence in and of itself that there is demand for your work. And it is always just a question of clarity and problem solving. And luckily for you, there's a lot of support with that. How long will the group be open? Good question, Lakeisha. The group is open for 1 more week. I am subject to capacity, giving feedback and marking your homework until this time next week. Thank you all so much for being here. I love reading your input on the group. Direction and motivation. Yes, Good, good, good. That's what I like to hear. Come and interact with me in the group. Don't leave me alone over there. And I'll see you all very soon. Thank you, thank you.